Why hasn't Apple released a games console? After all, they are worth $2.2 trillion. They sit on cold hard cash and are richer than many countries. They have some of the best designers in the world, mixed with the best marketing. Throw in the fact they create their own computer chips and have a digital storefront ready to go, and you have to ask yourself, why it hasn't happened yet? Well, in today's video, Reggie and the boys are going to try and answer just that, whilst giving plenty of reasons as to why it feels more like a question of when rather than if. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's have a chat. A curious video today, my pedigree chums, as Reggie and the boys wanted to give an opinion piece rather than a games review, simply because they're sod all out at the moment. Now, it's a question that has intrigued me for many years now. It's all speculation, of course, so you put your own comments below, but Apple entering the console market would be monumental, and these paradigm shifts in gaming are not unheard of. Sony and Nintendo actually had a joint venture back in the day, but when the shit hit the fan, Sony decided in all their wisdom to go it alone and enter the console market with the Sony PlayStation. The rest is history, of course, and who could forget Microsoft, a software company full of virgin nerds that many doubted could bring a console to the mainstream, but they proved everyone wrong with the Xbox. And then, of course, the Xbox 360, which is arguably up there as one of the greatest consoles ever released. Yes, my little Sony friends, you did hear that right. The fact Nintendo and Sega, the latter of which saw its demise and the former seeing its market share get squeezed, proved that gaming was bigger than either company had anticipated, but also that habits had matured. We all know gaming is bigger revenue-wise than Hollywood and music combined, so it's a surprise that Apple doesn't want a piece of that pie and to plant gaming hardware in every little room across the country and squeeze us more from our hard-earned wonga. And the first major reason as to why this makes business sense is the Apple ecosystem. You all might be sitting there with your iOS device laughing at the Android scum below you, but realise this, boys and girls, Android devices dominate the mobile market, making up 71.8% share. Then comes other Apple products like the MacBook, which only contributes to 17% of all PC units, and that was in the fourth quarter of 2022 when Father Christmas came to visit us all down our little chimneys. Apple just about pips it in the tablet market with its 53% share of all devices, but the big one for Reggie is Apple TV and its streaming service, where it only makes up 12%. You see, a games console fixes many of these things and certainly gets many newcomers into the Apple ecosystem for the first time, which in itself does have a halo effect, something many marketers will tell you about, where one product can help influence the purchase of another product in the family line. Imagine your dirty little text messages coming through to your console as you watch Ted Lasso on the streaming service, or how you might receive a FaceTime call based on your Apple ID as you gank a load of whiny little kids in Call of Duty. This all might sound like a horror show to many hardcore gamers and those of you watching this video, and many scoffed at Microsoft when it wanted to create a media hub for the Xbox One as a gaming machine back in 2013, but from a business sense, it stands to reason. It's just that back then gamers weren't ready. But in the world of battle passes, loot boxes, an industry littered with thousands of indie titles and streaming subscription services, maybe that perception has changed, and maybe a console unit that brings a lot of these devices and different aspects of an ecosystem under one roof could be a winner. For example, plugging your iPhone into your games console to back it up and have updates delivered to you as you use your iPad to load a companion app for games would be rather juicy. What gets more interesting is when we talk about the Apple Store. The infrastructure is there, my Padawans, with more bandwidth than Pornhub at their disposal. They'll be able to match the sheer volume of downloads and maintenance required to keep the Call of Duty overlords happy with their Arctic-sized patches. Steam shows exactly how effective a good digital platform can be, and the App Store is very much that for Apple. Delivering games on demand would not require years and years of engineering and research, as the blueprint is already there with the App Store, and Apple Arcade certainly shows the impetus of Apple wanting to venture into this space. It very much feels like the App Store is a pre-made, ready-to-go platform that could meet the demands that rival the likes of Steam, PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass. It's potentially a huge revenue driver for them. And remember, it's that lost revenue that made Epic take legal action after all, where they were losing a cut of their own margin as Apple took a large swipe of the cash by having it hosted on their App Store. Apple ain't no mugs, people. Whether you like them or not, they sure know how to squeeze every cent out of your arsehole. But what good is a platform if it doesn't have hardware to drive it? In 2021, Apple started releasing hardware that no longer used third-party chips such as Intel, instead opting to create their own chips in the form of M1. The marketing of these chips promised to offer RTX level of performance, and whilst the reality of that didn't quite hold true, they were nonetheless more than capable and were able to provide great performance for such a small component. That's what she said. The engineering required to make such chips takes years and years of research, let alone the production and logistical needs to deliver them. But Apple did it, throwing the chip world on its head. The thought that Apple could create a gaming console chip within their own factories and own design is not implausible at all, especially as some modifications to the current M chips could be done with relative ease. AMD and Nvidia need not apply here. So with the hardware and with the ecosystem to hand, would anyone actually want to buy it? We all like to think advertising doesn't affect us, but the reality is it has a great impact on attitudes and behaviours. Apple are the absolute masters of marketing and today still hold up as one of the best marketers on the planet. They value their premium white look, they understand what makes a product cool, and their designs, for the most part, are timeless. An Apple console would likely be a sleek, simplistic piece of hardware, but one that would sit happily in your TV unit. As much as Reggie loves his PS5, he can't deny that it still looks like the bastard child of an air conditioning unit making out with an air purifier. Apple designers, I'm certain, would understand what would make it look cool. Even within their packaging design, they take great care in how their products are displayed, so that when you open them up for the first time, the box purposefully opens up slowly, as if to enact its own little mini reveal to you. For sure then, a product like a games console would equate to Apple's biggest ever release and would be rammed down our throats, Ron Jeremy style. It would be on every TV station, billboard and website display possible, but they have the funds and marketing to make it work until you give in and hand over your welfare check. Now, no console is complete without third-party support, and that might be where Apple struggles big time. It's not that it won't achieve third-party support, because I think the likes of EA and Ubisoft will jump at the thought of having more places to sell their shitty products, especially on an Apple product. So you're likely to see the same games you see on the Sony, Xbox, Nintendo consoles, or indeed PC. The issue then comes when you talk about system sellers, and that being first-party exclusives. Apple has none unless they offered a gargantuan sum of cash to buy out a studio to make the games exclusive to them. They may find it a hard sell. In fact, Ubisoft, for all its faults, for all its mediocrity and the sheer churn of their games, would be a good acquisition. Reggie did a video on Ubisoft explaining their downfall, but nonetheless, they are up for sale, and getting exclusives like Assassin's Creed, the Tom Clancy franchise and Far Cry would help push this as a system seller for many. Getting that first party exclusive is most definitely a challenge for Apple, but again, they have the cash to buy their way in, and the initial investment might be big but could be a great platform going forward. You only need to look at Microsoft of late to see how acquisitions are a fundamental part of their business and how it's going to help them win those console wars of the future. However, one of the biggest factors I would see as a challenge to consumers is price. Apple see themselves as a premium product and they price it as such. And that's okay, my Apple overlords, but know this, you're not getting away selling a console for $1,000 like you do your bloody iPhones. At that price, it's PC gaming territory. I'd say $500 is really going to be the max for a brand new console, and this is something Apple would need to swallow and accept if they were ever to release such a device. In fact, in 1996, Apple did release a console in Japan only called the Apple Pippin, but it was a big steaming pile of turd, and it launched at $600, which in today's money is getting close to $1,000. Apple purists would sell their pet dogs to get their hands on the new console either way, I'm sure, but for the average gamer out there, pricing is going to be a crucial factor, especially when you have Sony and Microsoft offering excellent and well-established machines for a much lower price. Apple then are going to have to go see a therapist and just get over it if they're going to have any chance of succeeding. So even with all the challenges to hand, you still feel like Apple has all the ingredients to make a games console work. So why haven't they? Well, Reggie wouldn't be surprised if there are engineers under strict NDAs who are actually looking at just that. Apple, in all their might and wisdom, will have many researchers and many fingers in many pies. I wouldn't be surprised if they have researchers working on electric vehicles, VR headsets, solar panels, and all other manner of electrical goodness. So perhaps the most simple answer here is priorities. As big as Apple are, launching into new categories carries major risks, and they must be successful to keep the shareholders happy. They have a whole raft of product lines, and their streaming TV service is perhaps their biggest push as of now, as they try to break into more homes with the quality content. But does Reggie think we'll see an Apple Games console in his lifetime? He does, he's just not sure when, but he is sure it will happen, simply because when there is money to be made, Apple will be sure to find it. And with that, my lovelies, you have a great day. Leave your comments below. Reggie out.